everything evil in the world related to democide, unfortunately, comes from Geneva. You have WHO in Geneva, you have Gavi, then you have the WEF, the World Economic Forum, which my father was a co-founder and left Klaus Schwab out of disgust in the early 80s, that has diplomatic immunity. I, as a Swiss citizen, right here now, declare that the WEF is not eligible anymore for diplomatic immunity. I call on the Swiss authorities and security to arrest those people immediately. Why? The WEF, WHO, Gavi, Big Pharma, Big Tech, Bill Gates, all advocated a global humanity injection by a bioweapon injecting nanolipids into 5.7 billion people. And we Swiss are hosting them? That's terrible. We cannot tolerate any entity that promotes poison to be injected into humanity. But we have done it. I'm the victim, I'm dying from it. And my mother too. It's a democide, and you'll be judged. It will be corrected in the name of humanity. Never again. The snakehead is in Geneva. I call it a direct, clear and present danger to the Swiss population, but I can tell you it is being cut off. If you have a house of cards, and this is a house of cards of a criminal, one card pulled by justice and the whole card house collapses. But from hope alone it is not done. Everybody must now change the spirit.
Terminando las endoscopias en esta mañana del día 14 de abril, estaba un poquito decaído. ¿Por qué? Pues porque daba vueltas en las últimas endoscopias a eso que está apareciendo en distintos titulares de la prensa de aumento de los casos de cáncer. Sobre todo en gente joven, los cánceres turbo. Esto no es alarmismo, son datos reales, son datos que están sobre la mesa y que van en aumento. Tumores hematológicos, tumores, aumento en el cáncer de colon, aumento en cáncer gástrico, cáncer de páncreas. Y bueno, son datos que están ahí. Hay que saber qué pasa. Estas cosas pasan. Y esto nos está llevando a modificar algunas guías, algunas recomendaciones en prevención, sistemas de prevención. Y al mismo tiempo, sí debatimos y nos interrogamos a qué puede ser debido este aumento en los casos de cáncer. A veces en los congresos no nos atrevemos a exponerlo públicamente, pero cuando terminan las ponencias en los pasillos, sí hablamos de qué puede ser o qué lo atribuye. Cada vez más médicos están convencidos de que algo ha pasado en los últimos años que ha incrementado los casos de cáncer, de estos tipos de cáncer, ¿no? Las unidades de oncología, los hospitales de día, están viendo que están tratando muchísima más gente, que hay más escape, la respuesta inmune, de los tratamientos que se daban, de que hay que aplicar inmunoterapia, de que, bueno, cada vez son más precoces los tumores, peor respuesta. ¿Qué está pasando? Pues lo está pasando, yo hace tiempo lo vengo diciendo, a veces con la boca pequeña, de que probablemente tanta vacuna, tanto pinchazo, algo ha modificado en plan negativo el sistema inmune. Claro, esto que hasta ahora es un run run, eso dice por ahí, yo me siento en la obligación de decirlo públicamente. Esto genera una alarma, un alarmismo, llámalo como quieras, son datos. Yo públicamente sí digo que tengo evidencia o que tengo convicción de que las vacunas COVID han propiciado un aumento de cáncer en general, en la población general. Pero bueno, doctor, ¿cómo dice usted eso? ¿Tiene pruebas? No, no tengo ninguna prueba, pero tengo derecho a opinar o no tengo derecho a opinar. Y lo que estoy opinando lo estoy haciendo porque me veo en la obligación de decir lo que mis colegas no se atreven a decir, pero que todos comentamos. Que tanto cáncer tiene mucho que ver con las vacunas que se han puesto. Lo digo así de claro. Y si digo alguna cosa que sea incorrecta, estoy esperando que los colegios de médicos, las comisiones de deontología, me llamen. Que no lo van a hacer. Pues entonces yo ya lo digo abiertamente. Pero no lo digo yo solo, lo dicen otros que no se atreven, no vaya a ser que alguien se moleste por esto que no se puede probar. Como tantas cosas en medicina, ¿verdad? No se puede probar. Pero sí se puede probar en medicina que no es necesario pinchar a todo el mundo de ningún producto preventivo. Eso sí es necesario y eso sí se puede probar. Y eso se ha hecho mal, ¿no? Ahora, que aquí a consecuencia de unas cosas que se han hecho mal vengan otras, bueno, pues es más difícil de probar. Pero con los libros de medicina en la mano, lo que se ha hecho es una atrocidad. ¿Qué pasa? Que la mayor parte de los médicos no va a decir nada. ¿Por qué? Porque reconocerlo es inculparse. Por eso, oficialmente, no va a haber nunca un reconocimiento de que médicamente no se han hecho las cosas como se debían hacer. Bien, después de decir esto delante de la cámara, para que se reproduzca en TikTok, en redes sociales, en YouTube, donde queráis, de lo cual se responsabiliza Luis Miguel Benito de Benito, médico especialista del aparato digestivo, y nadie más, yo lo digo, me siento más a gusto porque es una deuda pendiente con la sociedad. Porque sí, la sociedad se pregunta, porque la sociedad tiene ojos. A mí no me hace falta ir a un hospital oncológico, es que lo veo en mi familia, es que lo veo a mi alrededor. Entonces, sin hablar, o sea, estoy hablando de incremento de patología tumoral, que es un dato reconocido, que yo no lo atribuye al cambio climático, ni a las dietas, ni a las gilipolleces varias que hay por ahí, no. Estoy diciendo directamente a productos que se han pinchado que no deberían haberse pinchado. No sé si se queda claro. Lo atribuyo directamente y se lo digo sin ambajes a quien haga falta. Aparte de que hay otros factores, claro que puede haberlos, sin duda alguna. Pero también están influyendo en trastornos hematológicos, en trastornos de corazón, en arritmias. Vamos a ver qué hace un médico diagnosticando arritmias, un médico de digestivo. En fin, como lo que tenía que decir para desquitarme después de esta mañana donde se pillan cosas desagradables, ya lo he dicho, que ruede por las redes sociales y a la espera de que alguien me diga que lo que estoy diciendo no tiene fundamentación científica. Estoy esperando que me digan, eso que estoy diciendo no es verdad. Venga, a ver, ¿quién se atreve? Deseoso. Un fuerte abrazo y siempre en deuda con la ciencia y con la medicina. Hasta luego.
Empower Translations. Translations for all humanity.
So speaking of cancer, here's one of the leading cancer researchers in the world. Heralded before he started talking about COVID and the link to cancer. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, Angus.
Dalglish.
He's a professor emeritus of oncology, City St. George's University of London. He's written over 500 papers that have been submitted and published in medical journals about all things from HIV's linked to cancer, all things related to cancer. And here's what he had to say.
Evidence on this. I'd just like to point out that I have, as you say, I've been in cancer immunotherapy for over 3 decades, and I have made big advances in the treatment of cancer with immunotherapy. So this sets the scene that I became aware in early 22 of my patients who've been stable for years, mainly melanoma patients. They'd had several different types of immunotherapy, and in 6 weeks, I saw 6 patients relapse with melanoma. They'd been stable for 3 to 18 years. They felt well apart from the relapse. And being investigative, I asked, what was the thing that was common? And the thing that was common is they'd all received a booster vaccine from their general practitioners. Now, I know that these cancers are totally controlled by the T-cell response, so I immediately suspected the T-cell response was being perturbated by the cancer. And initial investigations showed that this was likely to be true. However, there was then a paper published by some doctors in Madrid, which, and I quote, the paper is called The Evidence of Exhausted Lymphocytes After the Third Anti-SARS-CoV-2 Vaccine Dose in Cancer Patients. I mean, this was absolutely staggering that they showed across hundreds of patients that you get this T-cell suppression. Hard on the heels of this were then numerous reports that following the booster vaccine, we were getting IgG immunoglobulins switching, so you converted the immune system from being aggressive fighting invaders to one of tolerization. So therefore, the immune system was tolerating the cancer, and this was the reason we were starting to see it. However, it is important at this stage to say that we were getting reports after I first reported this of other cancers. And my initial observation that this is all due to T-cell suppression started to fade into the perspective that other actors were at work with the vaccine, as it were. Colorectal cancer was being reported by my patients, by my fellow surgeons, as presenting late, stage 4, not stage 1 or 2, and early, in patients in their 20s and 30s and 40s, in a way that we have not seen before. And then in my own practice, as I was looking for patients who'd had other cancers, I noticed that they too had had booster vaccines, and I list them in my report. They go from everything from the common cancers, from breast, prostate, etc., and all the way through to some really unexpected ones, including glioma, and more recently, hematological malignancies. Now, looking at the literature as to why this could be, and I'm involved in 2 big publications. One's been accepted prior to changes, and this shows that there are remarkable, at least a dozen mechanisms where messenger RNA can insert into the DNA and activate oncogenes, and more importantly, and especially the long term, they can suppress the suppressor networks, which means if a cancer is starting to evolve, it would normally be maintained, controlled, and this mechanism is being prevented. And the number of people who've shown this is quite enormous. So as an oncologist, who I started to see that it's not only my patients now, it's people I know really well who are going down with cancer, and they're going down more aggressively. And the treatment is not working nearly as well. And I'm used to people saying, oh, there's no evidence that the cancer is increasing and that there's anything to do with the vaccine. But I can assure you from the patients that I have seen, that many have seen a dozen doctors before. Not one of them has ever asked the vaccine history. So, of course, they see no evidence. And my full detailed research into the messenger RNA vaccines, and I was on the scientific board of a company claimed to be the messenger RNA vaccine company for 5 years, left 8 years ago. So I know a lot more than the average clinician. And myself and others feel that there is no way you can control this technology and its use for future.
So there he is telling you the mechanism of how the mRNA vaccine suppresses your own body's immune system, your T cells, and it makes it tolerate cancer, which is why people are showing up with what they call turbo cancers. All of a sudden, people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s showing up with stage 4 cancer. And so they'll say, oh, there's no such thing as turbo cancer. But of course, again, this is not a quack. This is not a fringe doctor. These are the leading doctors in the world telling you this. And of course, they're being suppressed and discredited. And now there's been a move to make all the vaccines mRNA based. Have you heard about that?
Well, it should concern you. It's being used in veterinary medicine as well. I think that's the whole purpose of this thing. This mRNA platform can be such a profitable platform. You can, bring out a new variety almost overnight. So they really wanted to use this, but as this, oncologist pointed out, he'd been involved in research with mRNA. It never succeeded. It just never worked. They couldn't control it. And so they never used it in cancers, even though that might have pretty promising use right there. No, they wanted to be able to give it to billions of people, and that's exactly what they did. But again, what he's talking about is overwhelming evidence, which isn't proof. Again, they're playing word games, just like going back to what our study uncovered.